So we're in Module 6. This is where all of your work this semester is going to come together. You've spent weeks collecting data, running analysis, working with some AI tools, and building comparative insights. Now you need to do something with that. And the thing you need to do is to communicate it to someone who can act on it. In this class, you're communicating to me, but out there in the real world, you're communicating to, your CEO. So here's the uncomfortable truth about measurement. The analysis is only as good as the report that delivers it. You can have brilliant findings, but if the report is 40 pages of methodology and raw data tables, nobody will read it. In our business, presentation, what it looks like, is important. And findings that nobody reads are the same as findings that never existed. So we're going to learn about how to structure a measurement report that actually gets read and how to write recommendations that are specific enough for someone to implement. These are career skills, not just course skills. Before you write a single word of your report, you need to know who is reading it. And this table breaks down 4 common audiences and what each one actually cares about. Let's start with the C-suite. These are the people who have the money. They control your budget. And they will give you maybe 5 minutes to read your report and possibly 10 if it's a great presentation. They want business impact, return on investment, and strategic implications. They absolutely do not want to hear about your methodology or which platforms you used. If you open with that kind of detail, you have lost them. Marketing directors are your most likely audience in early career roles. They want to know how campaigns performed, where they stand relative to competitors, and where to allocate resources next. They will give you 15 to 20 minutes. Still not a lot of time, but more time than the C-suite does. Social media managers are the people in the trenches. They want all the tactical detail. What content types worked, what postings times performed best, what operational changes you are recommending. They will give you 30 plus minutes, an hour, because they are the ones who have to execute these recommendations. So they want the detail. And last, but certainly not least, we have clients. Clients want proof of value, clear wins, and justification for the amount of money that they are spending. They don't care about your internal process and do not give them excuses. They're going to give you maybe the 5 minutes the CEO gives. In fact, you probably won't talk to them unless they're being dragged through by the CEO, unless, of course, you're their account manager. And even then, 10-minute presentation is usually pretty generous. Here is a sad truth that I am repackaging as the golden rule. It is really important. Write it down, maybe tattoo it on your forearm. Executives do not care about social media, period. They care about business outcomes. They care about money. They care about how social media affects both of those. And your job in a report is to translate platform metrics into business language. Take the example on the slide. One says Instagram engagement increased by 23%. The other says brand awareness among target customers grew, driven by social content that reached 2.3 million in our target demographic. Both of these are describing the same data, but one sounds like a social media report and the other sounds like a business report. Remember Module 1, the whole reason measurement matters is it's because it's how communication teams justify their existence, justify their budget, which is your salary. If you write a report that only speaks in social media metrics, you are speaking a language executives do not speak. You're making it easy for them to say, that's nice, but what does it mean for business? Does that really have any effect on what we're selling? So you're taking the same data, that same social media measurement data, and you're putting it in a different frame. so you have a different impact. Practice this translation. Every metric in your report should connect to a business outcome. The pyramid principle, which I did not make up, is one of the more useful frameworks for business writing. The idea is simple. Start with the answer and then support it. Most people, and I get this in student work all the time, write reports like mystery novels. They set the scene, describe what they did, walk through the data point by point, build suspense, and then reveal the conclusion on page 15. This feels natural because it's how you did the work. You collected data first, then you analyzed it, then you drew conclusions. So you write it that way. Executives do not have time for mysteries. They want the ending first. They will decide if they want the evidence after they hear that ending. If your conclusion is interesting enough, they will keep reading. If it is not, you just save them some time. Either way, you have communicated the most important thing. In practical terms, this means that your executive summary comes first, your recommendations come early, and your methodology and detailed data live way in the back half of your report. Invert the order of how you did the work to how someone needs to consume the work. With that in mind, here's how I want you to structure your final report. In 4 sections, in this order. Section 1 is the executive summary, 1 page max. It's the most important page of your report. For many readers, it's the only page they're going to read. We'll dig into what goes in here in a couple of slides. Section 2 is strategic context, half a page. This is where you briefly explain what was measured, why, and for whom. Think of this as orienting the reader so they understand what follows. Section 3 is key findings, 2 to 4 pages. This is the substance of your report. Each finding should have a clear headline, supporting data, and visual evidence. Notice I said 2 to 4 pages, not 10 to 15. Now, I know we're working with limited data anyway, so you're probably not going to be tempted to write 10 to 15, but shorter is always better. If you can't distill your findings into a short 2 to 4 pages, you haven't finished analyzing. And that's true when you have a robust data set. Section 4 is recommendations, 1 to 2 pages, where you tell the reader what to do with what you found. We'll spend a couple slides on how to write those, because this is where student reports sometimes fall apart. There is a detailed page in the Canvas module that explains what belongs in each section. Make sure you read it before starting your final report. Because it's hard to remember all this stuff, we have cute little rules to remember. And this is the 1-3-25 rule. 1-page executive summary. And if you remember nothing else from this class, 1-page executive summary will probably make me happy. 3 findings maximum. 3 key findings. You may feel like you have 5 or 6 with your data, and maybe you do, but if you try and present all 6 of them with equal weight, none of them will land. Pick the 3 that matter most. Again, in this class, we're dealing with very limited data. I am not worried that you're going to have 6 key findings. Well, maybe you'll have 6 key findings, but you are less likely to. But in the real world, you're going to have 6 key findings, 6 babies. You love them all, but you have to pick the 3 that are the most important. Pick the ones that are the most actionable, the most surprising, or the most directly connected to those business objectives that you wrote in Module 2. If you can't fit it in this structure, you have not finished analyzing. You've just collected. There is a difference. Collecting data is gathering everything. Analyzing is deciding what matters. If your report is 30 pages, it means you've not made enough decisions about what to cut. So for your final project, 10 to 15 pages, including visualizations, if the visualizations take a full page. It could go down to 6. I wouldn't go over 15. I just don't believe that you'll have enough data for more than 15. That should give you enough room to be thorough without being excessive. And if you don't have enough to fill 10 pages, right, it's okay. Do not add fluff. Let me repeat. The executive summary is the most important page of your report. For many readers, it is the only page, so treat it like it is the whole report compressed into one page. And here's what goes in it. First, a headline. One sentence that captures the main takeaway. It's not a summary of the report. The takeaway, it's the takeaway. You want something like, I've got a cat crawling on me, I'm sorry. Brand A's engagement rate outperforms Brand B's by 40%, but Brand B's content strategy is generating stronger conversion signals. Second, context. What was measured and why in 2 to 3 sentences, and not a methodology session, just enough so that the reader understands the scope of what you are looking at. And third, those key findings, right? 3 to 5 bullet points. I prefer 3 to 5. These should be findings, not data points. Not the engagement rate was 3.2%, but Brand A's engagement rate significantly exceeded industry benchmarks, suggesting a strong audience content fit. Fourth, a recommendation. What should be done? One clear recommendation or a set of prioritized action. And fifth, the bottom line, what is the business impact or the next step? And with what this means for the organization. If you can write a strong executive summary, you can write a strong report. If your executive summary is weak, the rest of the report probably is too. And besides which, no one's going to read it, because a weak executive summary means you have not figured out what your main point is. This slide arguably as important as the last one, because it's what to leave out. Leave out the methodology. Your reader does not need to know you used Social Blade and the hated fan page Karma and exported data to Excel. That goes in the body of report if it goes anywhere. Leave out caveats and limitations. I know this feels a little funky. I mean, we're in an academic setting where we teach you that you can't be certain about anything, that you always have to hedge and qualify. But the executive summary is not the place for, however, the data set was limited and these findings should be interpreted with caution. Save that for the body of the report. The executive summary needs to project confidence. If you're confident enough to write it, the summary needs to project that. Leave out interesting findings that don't drive action. This is hard because you will find things in your data that are genuinely interesting and they don't connect to your business objectives. You have to, as Elsa said, let them go or put them in the findings section, but they do not belong on this one page that matters most. Leave out multiple options without a recommendation. If you present 3 options and say the client should consider these, you have not done your job. Pick one. Defend it. That's what you're being paid for as a strategist. Leave out jargon. Again, if your executive summary includes terms like engagement rate without explaining what that means in business terms, you are only writing for yourself. You are not writing for your reader, which is the guy with the paycheck, or the checkbook. Here's a little bit of a cheat sheet. On the left, you have some horrible, vague recommendations that I know you would never write. They're pretty much caricatures of vague recommendations. But what you should look at are the specific ones on the left. So instead of improve engagement, you have increase Instagram Reels to 60% of content mix, targeting 3.5% engagement rate. Instead of post more video, you have produce 2 TikTok videos per week, 30 to 60 seconds, focusing on product tutorials. Instead of respond faster, you have implement 4-hour response time target for all comments, DMs during business hours. Consider influencers specifies what kind, right? Partner with 3 to 5 micro-influencers. And then, in case the person reading this doesn't know what a micro-influencer is, right? You have to explain things. 10K to 50K followers. In the fitness niche, presuming that's your brand, at $500 to $1,500 per post. Notice the budget range. That's the kind of detail that makes a recommendation real. When you make a recommendation, you want to tell people how much it's going to cost because sometimes that's really what they care about. So look at every recommendation in your final report and ask, is this the vague version or the specific version? If it's the vague version, rewrite it. Here's an example of how you can structure your recommendations. Every recommendation should include 6 elements. What? The specific action to take. Why? The evidence from your analysis that supports this. How? A brief implementation approach. Expected outcome. What is the project outcome? And here you can put quantities if possible, right? Timeline. When to do it, when to expect results. And resources, what's required, budget, people, and tools. If you look back at the AMEC interactive framework, you will find that these things, sometimes in slightly different words, are in there. Not every recommendation needs to be a full page, but every recommendation should touch on these 6 elements briefly. What distinguishes a professional measurement report is this level of specificity. When you present recommendations, you are not just reporting your findings, you are providing a strategic roadmap. So let's walk through a fully developed recommendation so you can see what it looks like. The recommendation is to shift the content mix towards video. This action is specific. Increase video content from 25 to 60% of total posts, prioritizing short-form vertical video like Reels and TikToks over long-form YouTube. The evidence is drawn directly from the analysis. Video posts generated 2.3 times higher engagement than the static images did. You notice that the competitors' video-heavy strategy correlated with an increased engagement rate. See how the recommendation is grounded in what the data showed? It's not a guess, it's evidence-based direction. The implementation section is practical. Relocate 1 static content day per week to video production. Repurpose existing photo shoots into short video clips. Use in-house editing tools to minimize production costs. Like, where are they? Like CapCut. There we go. Everyone knows CapCut. Everyone loves CapCut. And this tells the client that they do not need a massive budget to do this, which can be really important. You need to tell people what the expected impact is, in this case 40 to 60% improvement on average engagement rate within 60 days based on Brand A's performance patterns and industry benchmarks. Note, that appears to be a SMART objective. Timeline. Begin the transition in week 1, full video 60% mix by week 4, and evaluate performance at week 8. You're going to need some resources to do this, a budget. So we're talking, in this case, 4 to 6 additional hours per week of content production time with no additional money required for the initial phase. So this is what a recommendation looks like when it's ready for a real client. It answers every question a decision maker would ask. What should we do? Why should we do it? How do we do it? What will it cost? And when will we see the results? Use this as the model in the final project. I'll see you in lecture 6B.